Down, or are we live? Oh, there we go.
There we go.
3, 2, 1, we're live. Okay. So hello, everyone who's joining now. We're going to wait a few minutes to let everyone sign in and then get started. So we've got some people joining in. So hello, we're just waiting a minute or so to get started as we let a few more people join in. But we do want to get going as soon as possible because we've got half an hour and lots of great content to get through today. So just give it another minute or so. Okay, let's get going. So thank you for joining, everyone. I'm Harry. I'm an account director at SalesScreen, and I'll be hosting the session today. Before we begin, just to check, if you can hear me okay, can you just raise your hand on the panel there on Zoom? Okay, brilliant, you can hear me. And just to let you know as well, we are recording the session and we'll send out a recording within 24 hours of the webinar today. As well as that, we will have a Q&A at the end. So any questions you think of as we're going through, just put it in the chat and we'll be sure to leave time to ask those at the end. So we'll get started. So thanks for joining us today for the webinar on turn down turnover, boost sales rep retention with motivation. Bit of a tongue twister there, so I've got through that first test done. And as you can see, I'll just get rid of this slide. We're joined by Mark Castley, who is the CEO at Luxury Property. He's got vast experience in real estate, having led many teams across the globe. And chatting with him before, found out that his journey started from being a tea boy. For people who don't know what that means, is you start off making teas and coffees for people in real estate in the office. Now he's leading one of, if not the top, Dubai-based real estate company, recently awarded Agency of the Year and People's Choice in the Bayut Awards. So congratulations on that, Mark, and to your team as well. So yeah, good to have you. Hello, Mark.
Thank you so much. That's quite the introduction. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I practiced it a few times. So
yeah, I like that we led with. It's always interesting when people find out how I started as a tea boy. It's a really interesting way to start your career, right? Making tea for people, but it's a great way to learn the office dynamics and what's going on from the ground up, really. So it's a really interesting way to get into an industry. But yeah, that's how I started, man. I was a tea boy.
Yeah, I thought I'd give a little description.
Yeah.
I know what it is. You know, I'm from the UK and I started in a similar role in entry level, and so I know what it is. But I'm sure we've got a lot of new sales, new people, new professionals joining who probably didn't know what that was. So I thought I'd give a quick description. But yeah, amazing journey, and we'll get into that at the end. So we're going to start off with a lot of interesting information from Mark around, how Luxury Property keeps hold of their top talent, how they motivate their team, how they attract the best people in their industry to work for them. And then at the end, I know we're going to have a lot of people here who are following Mark's journey and maybe started out in the business and want to learn about how they can progress in a similar way. So we'll definitely have time at the end to talk about that with Mark and what he's done to get where he is now. So to kick off, as I say, you lead one of the most high-performing real estate agencies in Dubai, and we know, it's such a competitive market out there, and in real estate across the globe, for top talent. So in your business at Luxury Property, how do you retain your top talent and keep them from, going to competitors or thinking about leaving?
I think it's, there's more than one element to this. It's a massive amount of different things for the agents that make them or force them to stay with you. And, when they're weighing up their options, because there's loads of options, right? Wherever you're watching this now, if you're in the US, the UK, or Dubai, there's loads of different options when choosing which company to be at. And if you only have one USP, you will only get the agents who are attracted to that one USP. And what we need to do is make sure that every single avenue is dealt with in a way where agents believe they're at the best company they could possibly be at. And a couple of things that we've done. So I'm very much a believer of it's all about the people. The company is in place to support the people that are at the company, rather than the people at the company support the company. It's a different way of looking at things, but something I've always done is what can we do for them rather than what can they do for us. And we've got some of the top performing agents in the whole country that will come on this call right now and tell you they'll never leave. And the reason they won't leave, if I got 10 different people, they'll all give you 10 different reasons. And I think that's what's important. It's got to be multi-channel what you offer. Something that I believe is probably our strongest point is the education we offer. So I have, on average in Dubai, it's one manager to 40 agents. That's about the average. I have 1 to 15. So for every 15 brokers, they've got a senior, well-experienced, well-educated manager who's able to deliver education to anybody in the team. And I think that's got a ton of value, that you can go to multiple different people for help. If it was just me, I've got 83 brokers at the minute. So if all of them needed help today, I'm going to struggle, right? So we put ourselves in a position where there's always somebody there to help. That's one of the key things. And we care. That's the truth, Harry. I genuinely care about everyone's success. I look at KPIs. Obviously, we're on a SalesScreen call. SalesScreen plays a massive role in what we do because it tracks what we do. You can't educate somebody, you can't help anybody unless you've got the data points to look at. SalesScreen plays a major role. Even if you don't have SalesScreen, if you're using Google Sheets, whatever you're using, as long as you have something to track performance, track common trends, and understand why your business is successful or why it's unsuccessful, you can take action around that. And we do that really well here. It's 2 p.m. here. We have a management meeting every single day at 8:30. And what I've done is I've got 6 of my management team, and we'd sit down every single day at 8:30 and we talk about what needs to be talked about for it to be a successful day. But then we don't speak again until 8:30 the next day. And what I was thinking was, this is probably not the right way to do it, because between 8:30 and 8:30, a lot happens, right? You've got 120 staff, 82 or 83 brokers. A ton of things can happen during the day. So then we're constantly speaking throughout the day, but maybe only 2 of the managers or 3 of the managers. So what I've done is we do an 8:30 and a 1:30 now. So yeah. I don't know many companies that do this, but we have 2 management meetings every single day without fail. They never go over 30 minutes. And what we do is we set tasks at 8:30 that need to be done by 1:30. And then when we meet at 1:30, everything's done. And then we say, okay, here's what needs to be done by 5:30. And then we'll meet again in the morning. And since this constant touch point with management, we're able to stay ahead of any problems, because there's constant communication. But I found that we're delivering so much more value to the agents because there's a constant communication going on between senior level management, which is being filtered down to the team. So, there's so many different things that we do. You never know what's going to be valuable to the next agent or what's going to have that, real bit of value where they think, I can't leave Mark or I can't leave luxuryproperty.com because they do this for me. That could be different. It could be different for 80 different people. You don't know, right?
Yeah, well, it's fascinating. As you say, you're giving those employees, a direct manager where they're accessible all day because you've got 1 for every 15 people, right? And I'm assuming those manager meetings, are you bringing in all of those like team leaders who look after those 15 people in that room? Wow. Okay. So Yeah, so you're really staying in touch with what's happening day to day from the team,
Yep.
which, like you say, is so important. And it makes sense why they'd feel like they're part of a family, I guess you could say, because
Yeah,
it's you
that's
kind
it.
of all working together, right, in the same direction, rather than, if you're one rep of 40 being looked after by one manager, that's a lot of other people who can get in the way to speaking with your manager, right?
Yep, that's right.
And something I picked out you said was education. So a lot of people would
Yeah.
probably, if you say to someone, oh, we have one manager for every 15, some people's thoughts might think, oh, are they keeping an eye on their agents? Like, do you do that?
Yeah.
But your
No.
first thing you said was education, which
Yeah.
I think, as you say, it sounds like is one of the key things for your business is to give people that. And yeah, that's interesting to hear. What type of things do you do? I mean, we spoke about your journey from, an entry level in real estate to now being a CEO. And you
Yep.
mentioned education. Is that one of the key things for you to retain employees, is coaching people through, if they want to progress into management, if they want to move into a more senior role, is that something you do, and how do you do that in your business?
So I would say, Harry, it's the number one. And I think it's the number one across any business, even if they don't know it, because everybody wants to be educated. Every single person in the business world wants to do better. They want to learn more. They want career progression. So having it as a major part of our business makes sense, that if we're able to offer progression and education, then we're going to retain staff. So it's the number one part of what we do. It's that important. I have conversations with the team and I say, look, what have you done today? And we don't manage, that's not our style. But with the management team, what have you done for your team today? And that's a really tough question to answer. If I was to say to any, and it's awkward, right? So at 5 p.m., you feel like you've had a really busy day. And I pull my managing director, and he is without doubt the best in the industry at what he does, right? Without a shadow of a doubt. And he's had a really busy day. If at 5 o'clock I say to him, what have you done for your team today? It's a tricky question to answer, right? And if he has to answer that though, and he has to say to me, Mark, look, here's what I've done for the boys today and the girls today. I've done this to progress them. If that question is being asked, then the action needs to be taken by management. And if that question is twice a day, what have you done for your team today? And it's not anything other than education. What did you do for them that helped them build more business, that helped them get through a problem, that helped them overcome an objection? What have you done for them? And that's something we're really, really strong on. With that strong on it, I was concerned that I'm not delivering enough education in December. And we deliver a lot of education. So I brought in a training manager.
Yeah.
His name's Jason Farr. He's absolutely fantastic at what he does. We brought Jason in, and his specific role is education. All he's there for is to give non-stop education to whoever needs it, whether it be one-on-one, in a group setting, or however that's delivered. He's there to educate. And what that does is it puts people in a position of knowledge. So if you are successful because of the education you received at luxuryproperty.com, are you likely to leave us? I doubt it. You might, but our retention rate, so the industry average in Dubai, attrition rates sit at about 50%. We sit just under 10%. So the only time people leave is if they're changing country, or sometimes they're setting up their own company. But our attrition rate's really, really interesting compared to the rest of the market. And that's because we just look at it slightly different. It's a pure training and education. In terms of like the management style, I don't think it works. And it could work for other people, but it doesn't work for the way we're set up. I don't like management. I like accountability.
Yeah.
I like people performing. I like taking action around non-performance.
Yeah.
But I don't believe you have to take action when it's not really required, right? You know, if somebody's doing well, and well, here's the thing. We were talking about this before we came on, right? I was talking about it yesterday online as well, that there's value over volume.
Mm.
And the common thought in the world around sales is speak to 100 people, speak to 200 people, go and door knock at 50 homes today, and that will be a successful day. Hard work, hard work, hard work. And my opinion on that is just a load of nonsense.
Mm.
My top earners at this company don't work hard, and they're billing life-changing figures, not one-off, every single month. They're billing. I mean, you have access to our sales screen, so you can see the numbers that go on our sales screen. Life-changing. I assume you have access. I don't know if not. I assume you do have access. I'm sure you can see into what we do.
I'll have to have a look now. I'll have to have
You
a
have to
look
take
now
a
you
look
said
now and
that.
see what
Yeah.
they're doing. But they're billing life-changing money on a monthly basis, and you know, it's them types of people aren't necessarily working hard to get them results. And that's really interesting is, you know, 12 hours a day, 250 phone calls is not the answer. The
Yeah.
answer is, it's what value can you offer? And that's what, you know, the point is that things have changed, times have changed in the last 25 years, where you had to be strict with your employees because you had to get out of them what was required. But the truth is, we've got so many data points now that we can analyze somebody's performance quite easily by just looking at all the data points, make a couple of changes, make a couple of tweaks. And it doesn't mean they have to work 12 hours a day to get, you know, amazing results. So I just think times have changed massively.
Yeah. And you spoke about the accountability side of things. You mentioned, you know, you're giving your team numbers and you're showing them how they're doing. You can see the top performers in the business, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, even without SalesScreen, obviously people are sharing KPIs and those kind of things. And what we find is when you give people access to that, and you're not, like you say, you're not then managing them on how many calls they're making. You're spending those sessions with your team talking about what value you can provide, where can we improve, you know, and like you say, any education they might need. So yeah, that's really interesting insights from you around that. And like you say, accountability and having your managers there, that's going to make people motivated, right? They want to be, you know, moving up that leaderboard. Like you said, people want to be good at their job. They want to be top performers. Thinking about other strategies you may have in your business and that you've used in your career, how do you keep your team engaged and motivated? And even, you know, when they're doing really well, like you say, you're obviously a leading company. You know, how do you keep people going when they are already billing massive amounts of money? Do you have any specific strategies in the business you use around motivation and engagement?
Yeah. So one of the key things, you're in my office at the moment, and I do on average about 25 walkthroughs a day. 25. I sometimes have an Apple Watch on to track my steps. The wife's trying to get me to shift a bit of weight, so I try and track as many steps as I can. One of the key things I do is I give everybody the ability to have FaceTime.
Yeah.
So they feel like they're a part of something. So there's my door's not closed. It's a case of they've always got the ability to spend time with me or one of the other team or the senior management team. And what I've realized is there's a lot of value in that, because you mentioned the family element, and I think we're a bit too big to be a family, but it's that you've nailed it with that exact phrase. Is people are feet under the table with everybody throughout the company, because nobody is above a conversation. And I do that. I train new starters. So if there's a new starter group, I spend a couple of days with them. You know, it's not just the training manager, it's not just HR, it's not just, I jump in as the CEO and I spend time with new starters. The reason I do it, two reasons I do it. One is so they get to see what I'm all about. And two, I get to understand what they're all about. Because what I've realized is if you try and manage everybody in the same way, you'll fail.
Okay.
You know, everybody wants a different type of love from you. Some people need you to be authoritative. Some people will never respond to an authoritative figure.
Mm.
And what you've got to have is a balance where you've got a different relationship with everybody in the company and they're getting what they need. You know, that's why our training is not set. So on a Wednesday, if I do a training session, I'll bring some people into the office and I don't know what I'm going to teach them. You know, it's not scheduled training in terms of we're going to learn about qualification today, because they don't necessarily need that.
Mm.
So what we do is we bring them in and we'll say, well, what do you need help with? Let's pick a deal, you know, let's do a deal clinical. And that type of approach where you're having a relationship with each of the people in the office that's suitable for what they need, rather than, you know, this is scheduled and what we're doing, I believe is one of the reasons we found success is people are vested into us.
Yeah, and you keep coming back to people, you care about your people, and that shows. If you're basically giving people one-to-one advice on how to provide more value and therefore make more sales, right, make more money, and progress in their career. So yeah, I love that idea of not always being set on what you're going to do, but actually asking your team, what do you need to learn? How can we help you be successful? And then providing that for them. So that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And we spoke before about how the new generation of professionals, right, that you're attracting, and you're attracting top talent, and you mentioned, and we obviously talk about it now, how, you know, the new talent is fantastic coming through.
Yep.
And obviously we need to adapt to them, right, as you've said, and as we spoke about, because they've grown up in a different world to a lot of leaders and managers who are running real estate companies. So do you have any specific, I mean, you spoke already about being personal, adapting to individuals and what they need. Is there anything else around the new generation that you found that you could share on, you know, maybe what helps motivate them, what the differences may be to, you know, maybe 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, and I think this is something that's really important, is that 10 or 15 years ago, what worked doesn't necessarily work now.
Mm.
You know, the work ethic will never change. The work ethic should be, I need to get done whatever needs to be done to be successful. That's your work ethic. But the work hard culture, for me, it's just, you're not going to get that with millennials. They don't believe they need to work hard. And we touched on this before we came live, is that they're used to instant gratification. They're used to instant satisfaction. I've got a 7-year-old daughter, and if she doesn't get what she wants within a couple of seconds, if she's online, if she's looking at something, it doesn't last with her. And that's what's coming through, right? That's what people are used to. They're used to being served exactly what they want when they want it. And that's what this new generation wants. They're coming through, and what they want is, they see all of these programs online. They see, you know, the Selling Sunset, they say $1 million list and all this type of stuff. And that's what they want. And they'll sit down with us and they'll be perfectly capable and say, I want the fastest path towards my bank being full. What does that look like? And if you can't deliver that to them, they will go somewhere else and get it. And what we've done is we've adapted our approach to real estate. We've adapted our approach to training to make sure that anybody of any age can dip in and make a ton of cash, learn a load of different things, and have all of our management team are different personality profiles. So we've got somebody within each of the different profiles. So if you prefer to be managed a specific way, if you're, we've got a guy who's super authoritative, that doesn't work for everyone. We've got someone who's a high personality, who loves to spend time with people, likes to be liked. That doesn't work for everyone. So what we've tried to do is build out a system where we have everything that everybody needs at some point within their journey. But these newer guys coming through, that's where the big money is. If you take a look at the under 30s now, what are they doing to be successful? Well, they're doing so much social media. They're doing so much on social media. The funny thing is, if you have a social following, then that's more powerful than 100 phone calls, because there's no better lead than a referral. And they are the best across any industry, whether it's real estate or not, but there's no better lead than a referral, because you typically close 9 out of 10 referrals. So if you can turn your social network into a referral network, then you're going to make a ton of cash. Now, people over the age of 40 are really uncomfortable with jumping onto a video on an Instagram Live and talking about whatever they need to talk about. So they're not going to get this business. And that's why you've got to be savvy with these younger guys coming through, because that's where the money is. And that's what the business has to do, is adapt and evolve in a way that accommodates them.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, lots of really, really insightful information for people watching. You spoke about the instant gratification side of things. One of the key pillars we see in motivation is celebration and rewarding people. Do you have any insights in, do the new generation need more recognition, would you say? Do they, from your kind of experience, have you seen any differences for them around, celebrating, rewards, trying to help them get that instant gratification?
Yep. It's interesting because everybody's different, and everybody, like I've said throughout the call, people like different things. But what I've realized is even the most reserved salesperson, they want the award. Yeah. They want the certificate. They want the holiday, the iPhone, the MacBook, whatever that reward is, they want it. And even if they show zero motivation towards winning something, when it comes down to winning it, they are at their happiest. And we've had people say from all different age groups that have said to me, when I win my award, can you make sure we're on picture together, because I want to send it home? And that's not the type of thing I was used to, because I'm not overly bothered about this type of celebration. When I win, I've got a wife, a daughter, and my celebration is back home with them. Yeah. What I've realized, though, is a lot of people are really, really motivated by the thought of being the number one. And we push this quite a lot. We use SalesScreen, obviously. I actually think it's just, everyone's just gone on. I've just heard the clapping outside.
Have you? Okay.
When a deal goes in, everybody claps. The clapping noise comes on, and people have, when they do a deal, it pops up, and people absolutely love this. Some people, I've got 2 offices with glass in between. Some people will walk through into the quieter side of the office, put the deal through on their phone and watch. Okay. Or they'll video and they'll see everybody's reaction. And that was alien to me until I've seen it. And what that does is it shows people see massive value in being celebrated. So we do end of month awards now, and we make a massive celebration out of it, where we talk about people's extreme achievements. And luckily we have a lot of them, which, I'm very fortunate to have a fantastic team around me.
Yeah, fantastic. Really great insights again. And I know we've got a few more minutes. We'll probably run over a little as we go into Q&A, but I did want to ask you about your own journey as well. And if you have any advice for, maybe someone who's just starting out in real estate, who wants to move in, go through and become really successful, or maybe for someone who's already, a sales director, sales manager, and they want to move into, eventually being, C-level CEO for a successful business in real estate.
Yeah, and I think the best advice I would ever give to anybody who wants to progress in their career, there's 2 parts to it. One is make yourself useful. So whatever role you're in right now, you should own that role anyway, because you're already in it. So if you're a sales director, then you should own that role. You've been put there for a reason. If you want to progress into C-suite, make yourself useful at that level. And I don't mean to the people in that level. I mean, make yourself useful to the team around you. So what that does is it puts you as the obvious choice for the position. If you have to ask for the position, you probably shouldn't be there. You probably haven't done enough to be there. And if you are the obvious choice, if people aren't surprised, if people expect you to be in that position when it's announced, that's the best way for career progression. Because when I went from sales director to COO, it wasn't a surprise because I was already operating at that level. I was already doing what needed to be done in that space, not for anybody other than the team. So everything that was required of me to move up a level was already being done. Same when I went to CEO. And I think that's important. People want the promotion because it's great for the profile. That's fine. But you should get the promotion because you deserve it, and you deserve it because of what you're doing for people around you. So not because you're the only choice and there's nobody else applying for it, because you're the only choice because it's just natural for you to go into it. And I think with a lot of, not just really, people sometimes don't look at it in a way that can help them progress. And if you look at it and say, well, if I'm really useful to everyone around me, I'm probably going to be somebody that's thought of for promotion, you know, and what does everybody need me for? That's what I'm going to do. And that's that for me. I've found ways to make sure I'm useful. You know, I've made sure I'm available for everybody. And that doesn't mean working hard, doesn't mean doing 12 hours a day. It just doesn't mean that. It just means make sure you're useful.
Yeah, it's that value over volume, like you said before as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, really amazing insights, and I'm sure you know, that's going to be really valuable to a lot of people watching. We've had a couple of questions come in just to end the session. We had one where someone has asked, how do you or your managers create accountability for your reps today?
So accountability for me, we have two different types of sales agents. We have ones that we bring in and we develop, and then we have top performers that join us. And the top performers, we have an approach that says, you do it your way, and if it works, we'll support you with everything you need, and that's who we are. Your way is the right way if it works. I'm not going to try and tell you to make 200 calls today if you're bringing me target. But if you don't bring me target, let's both agree that you start doing it my way, and we definitely know my way works, right? So my way definitely works. Your way might work as well. And it doesn't mean your way is better than mine or my way is better than yours. If the end goal is target and you get there your way, okay, that's absolutely fine with me. But if you don't get there, it's safe to say that my way definitely works. So let's do it like that. That's with the top performers, and we found great success for that, because a lot of the top performers come in and actually say, nope, I want to do it exactly how you tell me. Because they've peaked, right? The reason they join us is they can't see growth past where they are. So for them to see growth, they need to adopt our learning methods. But when it comes to accountability, what we do is we break down the parts of the business where the money's made. And depending on the industry, money's made face to face. There's no other way to do it. If you're on a, you know, even if you're remote and you do business over the phone, jump onto Zooms. Because what I realized when I first moved to Dubai is, you know, I'm a 6'4", baldy, funny accent. You don't really get all of this character over the phone, right? You just get the accent, and if you don't understand me, I get shut down. So what I realized is if I can get face to face with 10 people a week, I'm going to do a ton of business. And our accountability works towards. So I don't care how you get face to face with 10 people, but you need to be face to face with 10 people. And then if they don't get face to face with 10 people, we take a look at the KPI metrics that point towards a face to face, and we look at where the training is required. And the accountability then is not around the activity, it's around the result.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, it's really an interesting way to look at it, because if you've got an accountability to someone and you just say you haven't made 200 calls a day today, then that is quite toxic and people leave and people don't enjoy it. But if you don't look at how many calls they make, you just look at what the result is and you say, how are we going to get to this result? And we figure it out. They're bought into the process. You know, I was talking about this yesterday. I've not used it like this before, but this is a good way to think about it. There's something called the IKEA effect or the subway effect. I don't know if you've heard of this before. And it's where people are so heavily invested into the process, they apply incredible value to the product. So I don't particularly like Subway, but if I go and I make my own sandwich, it's the best sandwich I've ever eaten in my life, right? And I absolutely hate when my wife orders from IKEA because I know I've got to build it. And once I've built it though, it's the best piece of furniture in the house. And if you can apply that to what your team are doing, if you can get them invested into the process, make 250 calls. No. Okay, no problem. I need you to meet 10 people this week. How are we going to do it? Right, I'm going to make 100 calls. Okay, brilliant. Go make 100 calls. They're invested into that process and they're applying so much more value to it. So I think the best way to apply accountability is to reverse engineer it from the result.
That's fascinating. And that's a top tip for anyone who's only making calls. Get in front of people face to face. You're probably going to close a lot more business, right? And you're going to make a lot more relationships. So yeah, really, really insightful.
Do you know the conversion rate on a face-to-face meeting to a deal is 9 out of 10.
Wow.
Do you know why? Nobody takes face-to-faces unless there's value there. So if I say to you, can we meet face-to-face? You'll say no. But if I say to you, can we meet face-to-face because I've got this piece of value for you? Then if you say yes to that, you have an interest in the value. So if you have an interest in the value and I'm face-to-face with you, I'll close you. And that's what the difference is.
Great, yeah. Fascinating. And we're going to end off now. I did want to say, Mark, I'm sure people who have listened and they've heard about how the culture is at luxuryproperty.com, how the management is, the progression, they're probably thinking, I want to work for you. How would they go about, you know, finding a role there and applying for a job with your team?
So we don't actively recruit. It's funny, we don't have any job ads out for agents. It's by application only. And that goes through my head of talent and acquisition. His name's Nathan Kearney. He is on recruitment@luxuryproperty.com. But yeah, we specifically don't recruit, we only headhunt. It's something we've done for the past 18 months quite successfully. But if you believe I've never done anything recruitment before on video, but you've asked the question. So if you think you fit the bill, absolutely reach out. We'd love to hear from you.
I should have checked beforehand. I thought it'd be a nice, nice
we've never done it before. I've never ever said that. But you prompted me, so I've gone for it.
Who knows? Maybe we've got some top talent that's going to come your way from that. So
I would love that.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, Mark, absolutely fantastic session. Thanks so much for joining. Like I said, we'll send out the recording after this within 24 hours. Yeah, anyone who wants to learn more about this, get in touch. You can find myself on LinkedIn, Harry Hindess at SalesScreen. Yeah, thanks so much, Mark, and really appreciate you joining.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time, guys. Have a good day.
Cheers. Bye.